Okay, so we are stuck. The Payday 3 ARG has seemingly begun, and we've been trying to crack the password on the newest folder of the Dragon Files ARG website for over a week now, and we're getting nowhere. I didn't expect this to take so long, which is why I haven't made a video about our progress so far. I was going to wait until we got into the folder, but instead, I thought it would be a good idea to go over everything we know so far, discuss what possible next steps could be, and most importantly, explain why I believe this ARG is either brilliant or terrible, and how we'll only know the answer to that in time. First of all, what do we know so far? There hasn't been too much progress since the VS subfolder has been decrypted, as that's the folder we're currently trying to find the password for. And to help us figure out what this password is, we have 3 new emails. The first one speaks about unusual login activity and requests that Dragon verifies his details to avoid being locked out of something. We don't know exactly what service Dragon is going to be locked out of, nor do I think it's important. The second email congratulates Dragon on winning some sort of VIP prize, and prompts him to complete a form within 24 hours. Again, we don't have access to this form, but I would imagine that it asks for some of Dragon's details. That will be important later. The final email that we have so far implies Dragon has a parcel waiting for him at a distribution center, but the distributors don't have the correct address. So the email prompts him for his details again. I believe this is the final email we're going to get, as all 3 of these came out within 24 hours of each other, and we haven't received any more since. If we were waiting for another email, I reckon, or at least I hope, that it would have come out by now. Of course, we'll talk about that more later. Interestingly enough, despite all of these emails being about entirely separate matters, they've all come from the same email address, one belonging to a Mr. V. Pike, who just so happens to be the person listed on the Gateway Report advertisement titled Secrets Abound. This advertisement has 3 paragraphs, each one with a riddle. While initially I suspected that this whole advertisement was one large riddle, now I have a hunch that each riddle may correspond with one of the emails. But before we get ahead of ourselves, taking a closer look at each of the 3 emails reveals that there are bold letters hidden amongst the text. In the first email, the bold letters are E, S, T, and D, and they can be found in the words detected, safety, temporary, and identity. The second email's bold letters are EEARH and can be found in bean, randomly, opportunity, and attached. And the final email's bold letters are STT, which can be found in is, distribution, and immediately. Before we jump into exactly what these bold letters could mean or be useful for, I wanted to highlight a few things about the emails themselves that stand out to me. Firstly, the expressed urgency in each one of these emails. In email 1, the subject line contains the word urgent in all capital letters, and when requesting Dragon's details, it specifies that failure to act promptly may result in service disruption. Then, the second email outlines a 24-hour window in which action must be taken, and the third a 48-hour window. Besides the implication of a time frame being interesting within itself, something that really stands out to me about all of these emails is with each one, despite it only coming about 6 hours or so after the last, the time frame is increasing. The first email asks us to act promptly, the second within 24 hours, and the third within 48. Something else of note is that each of these emails seems to be fishing for Dragon's details, whether that's by asking him to confirm his identity or provide delivery instructions. For whatever reason, V. Pike is trying to get a hold of Dragon's information. There isn't much more to say about either of these 2 points right now, as the 48-hour time period has lapsed and nothing has happened, and for now, we have no idea why V. Pike wants Dragon's details. But I wanted to mention them anyway because something inside of me is saying that these might have some relevance later. Circling all the way back to those letters from before, ESTD, EEARH, STT. What do these all mean? Well, we haven't got a clue. We've tried anagrams, both in English and Latin. We've tried converting each letter into its numerical value and running that through a Polybius square. We've tried looking at these letters as if they are the abbreviation of a full sentence. We've tried this all in different languages as well. We've tried so many different things and got nowhere. The closest we've come to anything of substance is identifying that these letters can spell out Heat Street DS, which some have suggested hints towards a Heat Street Legacy heist, but I doubt this is anything more than a coincidence. I think if this was the way Starbreeze wanted to hint at a Legacy heist, they have gone far too overboard, and I really think this is just a coincidence. We have also entertained the possibility that the folder being named VS could in some way help us deduce the password, but again, everything we've tried so far hasn't yielded any results. Now that you're caught up with everything that we've been working on and where we are so far, what could we do next? I think it's possible, dare I say likely, that we're missing something with these letters that just hasn't stood out to anyone so far. So if anything jumps out to your potentially fresh pair of eyes looking at these letters and looking at everything we've spoken about so far, please do not hesitate to let us know in the comment section down below. Even if you're wrong, that's absolutely fine. Clearly, we have all been so far. And while you're down there, consider clicking that subscribe button. It's also possible that there's more significance to the historical nature of the first password being Marcus Aurelius. Maybe we need to read more into Marcus Aurelius's time as Roman Emperor, potentially even with these letters in mind, and that applies to both the letters from the file's name being VS and the letters we got from the emails. Of course, it's possible that the Secrets Abound advertisement from the Gateway report is somehow related to these emails. As we can see, this message breaks down quite nicely into 3 separate paragraphs, and perhaps these paragraphs each correspond with one of the emails. Of course, the last thing that we can try, which I guess we're doing anyway, is just waiting. So I think it's about time we discuss why this is either the very exciting beginning of a complex ARG or a really unfortunate way to start. And we won't know until we figure out what the password is, but from the way I see it, there are 2 ways this could go. Either this is a really complicated step of the ARG that needs us to think so much more out of the box than we already are. If that's the case, then I'm in, 100%. There's nothing I like more than a complicated puzzle to solve. Even if it takes the community a good few weeks, if the password can be cracked, we will crack it. Maybe we'll need a few more helpful hints along the way to nudge us in the right direction, that's absolutely fine, but I really hope that at present, the means to solve this puzzle and reveal the new password for the VS folder are available to us. And we're just missing something that's either right in front of us or really needs us to band together as a community and put our thinking power together. That's option 1. The password is out there, it is technically available for us right now if we just solve the puzzle. Option 2, which is a lot more upsetting, would be that we currently don't have everything we need to solve this puzzle and unearth the password. If that's the case, then I will mince no words by saying I will be the most disappointed that I have been since the game's launch. In fact, maybe even including launch. If we've been given everything that we have so far, which to recap is a password field that is currently accepting passwords and telling us if we get it incorrect, and a series of emails with bold letters which you could logically conclude have something to do with figuring out what this password is, as these emails only started coming through once the password field opened, followed by over a week of silence, which not only suggests that we now have all of the pieces for the puzzle, but also gives us the time to start trying to put all these pieces together. If we were given all of that, and then in a few days, or maybe even another week, or dare I say a month from now, we're given some more information that we literally couldn't progress without, then that renders all of the time between the 27th of December and when we get that new piece of information, whenever it is, as completely wasted. This would be so much more acceptable if we knew that we had to wait for more information. I'd still argue what the point of drip feeding it so slowly would be, but if we knew that we had to wait, that's fine. I would just hate to see all of the time both myself and other members of the community have invested into trying to solve this be a complete waste when there was no way for us to know we needed to wait. I'll be honest, I felt this a little bit on the 27th of December when the VS file opened up to accept passwords, but we needed to wait over 12 hours before we received all 3 emails, which we presumed would help us figure out the password. I think this was much less egregious though, as all of the emails, at least as far as we know, were given to us within 24 hours. Even then, we were given no indication that we had to wait, and myself as well as many others turned up for the moment the file became accessible with no idea that we'd be wasting our time until nearly 16 hours had passed. I really hope that this isn't the case and we aren't just stuck in a cycle of waiting now, and if it isn't, I think it would go a long way way if there were some way that the team behind this ARG could just let us know that we now have everything we need to figure out this password. Because I'm starting to get a teeny tiny bit hesitant to keep banging my head against this wall when I still don't necessarily know if we have everything we need. But if that password is currently solvable and we're just not doing a good enough job, I will bang my head against the wall until the cows come home. Which, for anybody who may be unfamiliar with that idiom, means a very, very long time. Of course, option 1, as we said, was that the password is solvable, and option 2 is that it isn't. There is kind of a third option, and it's that something is just broken, and because Starbreeze are out of the office, they haven't had the opportunity to fix it just yet. While this would still be quite disappointing, it wouldn't be nearly as upsetting as if this ARG had been designed with this much waiting involved without telegraphing it to the community. I am still extremely excited to see where this ARG takes us. I've got so many questions that I want answered, like who is V Pike? Why are they reaching out to Dragon specifically? And why do they want his information so badly? Are they another heister trying to reach out through an assumed identity to try and make contact in person perhaps? Has this got something to do with the reason Dragon is lying low in southwestern Europe? I'm sure that we'll get answers to all of these questions and more as this ARG progresses. And if you want to follow along with the ARG each and every step of the way, the playlist on screen now will be updated each time there's something new to discuss. So if you want a refresher on how we got into the secret folder to begin with, click through to the first video in the playlist on screen now. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.